we're going to teach you how to think at a higher level. When you think at a higher level, you're going to get better results based on this formula. Thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Better thoughts, better feelings, better actions, better results. How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
Welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. My name is Derek Kelly. I am joined by Jim Shorkey. And Jim, I wanted to have a conversation today about psychology and sales. What is the role of psychology in sales? What psychology strategies do salespeople use as top salespeople? And how are they connected? Do they relate? How do they relate? And how can sales folks use psychology well to build deep relationships with their customers and build trust? So let's jump in, I guess, one question at a time. Do you see a connection between psychology and sales?
First of all, let's be clear. I am an old, worn-out car salesman. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm none of that. All I do is sell cars. So the first question I have for you is define what you mean by psychology.
Yeah.
I have an idea how I would like to approach it, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you mean by psychology? Explain psychology to me, please.
Yes. So understanding how the human mind works, understanding the way people think. Sociology is more understanding groups of people, right? So psychology is more understanding the individual, how the individual thinks, how the individual interact, how different individuals work.
Okay. So my thought when you first said psychology, my thought was thinking. Mm-hmm. Psychology for me would be about thinking. Mm-hmm. And how do I think? And so my answer to your question is, first of all, is getting the proper amount of sleep. Now, this is going to sound a little wonky, but I got to get the proper amount of sleep, because if I don't get the proper amount of sleep, then I'm not going to be able to think in the best manner. So my sales day starts the night before, and I have very specific strategies for how I can make my sleep maximal. Okay, so let's assume I'm not going to get into that. The video is not long enough to discuss that. But research what are the best habits you can have to sleep really good and then go to work on those. So that's your job. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I sleep, I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do in the morning is I practice what is called gratitude. So I try to lay in bed before I get out of bed, and I think about all the different things that I have to be grateful for. And it sets the stage for the day in terms of my thinking. I'm grateful. And if I get the gratitude going in a proper direction, then I'll just go into the dealership and say, wow, look at this beautiful car. I'm so grateful for this car. Or I've got this great customer. I'm so grateful for this car. It's a thought process. Being grateful is a really cool idea that I work very hard on. So I do my gratitude in bed, get out of bed. I do my push-ups. I do a very short little exercise routine. And then I work on hygiene. And I do, this is, again, going to sound crazy, but this is just Jim Shorkey, goofy guy talking. I do my hygiene, which is flossing my teeth, brushing my teeth. I have a water pick. I do all that. And then, surprisingly, I take a cold shower. I always take a cold shower. And the cold shower is very good for a lot of reasons. Not going to get into that. But I can tell you one thing, it wakes me up. And I hoot and holler in that cold shower because it's cold. I put it on the coldest possible setting I can. And this morning I was in the cold shower. And it felt like maybe it could have been a little colder. I can sense that. So I just reached over and turned it a little bit lower, and it got colder. And it was cold. And so while I'm in the cold shower, I do affirmations. And I did 2 different affirmations this morning. The other thing within that affirmation that I think about, all that is possible for anyone. So has anybody ever done what I want to do? I want to sell 20 cars this month, or I want to sell 3 cars today, whatever the case may be. Whatever my goal is or goals are, have these goals/goal been done before? So I think about that. Now, what I want you to think about when you talk about the psychology of selling is I'm doing a pep rally for Jim Shorkey. I'm doing a pep rally inside the 40 trillion cells. And I'm getting pumped up. It's like a pep rally. It's like a spirit rally. So I'm rallying the spirit inside of me, right? Now I come out of the shower, and one of the best things that I do after that is just toweling off and drying off. It's almost like a massage. I'm drying myself off, and I'm cold. I'm shaking. I get out, and now I'm going to get dressed. And you'll never feel so grateful for clothes as you do after a cold shower. So
That's true.
Now I'm done with a cold shower. and I'm dry, I'm getting dressed. When I go to work, I'm gonna put the heated seat on. I don't care if it's 90 degrees out. I'm turning that heated seat on because it feels good against that cold shower body. And so I'm going to work. I will probably listen to something like a Jim Rohn or a Napoleon Hill or a Zig Ziglar, something to pump me up. I want to be pumped. And then I go to work. And when I get to work, I want to be as enthusiastic and as energetic as I can. Now, for me, I didn't sell cars. I stopped selling cars in 1979. I started managing in 80, so I've been away from it for a long time. So my getting ready in the morning was getting ready to run a sales meeting. And so one of the things I did, and I would recommend all you salespeople out there, this is not a car sales talk, by the way. This is a sales talk, okay? Let's get some Rocky music on in the morning in that meeting. Let's get some pump-up music, Rocky, different Disney songs. So I want to get pumped up. And that's my thinking, right? And then once I get to that point, I want to remember, and this is the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. No matter where you're at or what you're doing, you have to have your own mission. But our mission statement at the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group is number one, to love the customer. And I do mean love the customer. Hug them, kiss them, figuratively speaking, of course, but we want to love on our customers, because if we don't love our customers, then we're not going to have any customers. So I want to focus on that idea. Before I walk out the door to say, hi, how are you? Love the customer. The second thing I want to focus on is to love my team. Without my team, I'm nowhere. You've heard the story of the self-made millionaire. No such thing. No such thing. It takes customers, it takes teammates, it takes mentors, it takes books and readings and classes and school. Can you give your teachers in school credit for your success today? Absolutely. They gave you some great ideas. So there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. Number one, love my customers. Number two, love my team. Because if I don't love my team properly, now again, love them means hug them, kiss them, figuratively speaking again. But I want to love on my team. I want to appreciate my team. I want to be grateful to my team. Remember the attitude of gratitude I started off with this morning. I want to acknowledge them. I want to be there for them. I want to be present. These things all get into my mind because I set my day up properly with laying in bed this morning and being grateful. I did that this morning, by the way. I do it every morning. And if I don't love my team properly, my team will not hang around. I won't have anybody to help me love the customer. So it starts to implode from there. And then when you do, again, these are focal points. When you love the customer really well, which I'm going to do today, and I love you guys. I want to focus really hard on you today. I'm really trying to focus on looking at this little white square here that the guys put up for me so that I can make sure that I'm connecting with you with my eyeballs, right? I care about you. I want to help you. So I want to love on you today. And I want to love on Derek, and I want to love on Luke, who's behind the cameras here. I want to love on these guys, because without them, if you think I'm going to do this by myself, I can't. I'll be tripping over wires. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I need my team. Yep. Now, if we love the customer really well and we love the team really well, we get to be crazy successful. And the number one enemy of any successful enterprise is arrogance. Arrogance tears it up, rips it up, throws it away, and you start to go down from there. So I know that because I did that. I got arrogant. So the third focal point that I have today is to keep it very humble. Keep it very humble. And once I get that locked in, that I'm focusing on those three things, and I would actually have it written down on a piece of paper and look at it. Now, I have it in my memory, you can obviously tell, but I would still keep it in front of me. I get to, not I have to, change that. I get to go talk to a customer today. And I have a process that I'm going to follow, and hopefully you'll follow the process along with me. And I'm going to go out there and give this client the very, very best treatment I possibly can. And in the process of doing that, I'm going to grow the value of myself. I'm going to become more valuable as I do my process. I'm going to grow the value of my product. The product becomes more valuable as a result of my process. And I'm going to grow the value of the dealership. The dealership becomes more valuable as a result of the process that I'm going to implement today with my clients. And so those are my focal points. And does that sound like psychology?
Yeah. And it sounds like a great start to what you're talking about, because I think most people would jump in right at the interaction with the client or customer. Yeah. And you're saying you're preparing beforehand for the day.
Oh, man, yeah, absolutely.
Instead of just, oh, man, Luke's coming in 10 minutes. I got to be ready. Yeah. What am I going to say? Yeah. You're preparing.
But you forgot to brush your teeth. Let's be honest here. You got sidetracked. You forgot to brush your teeth. You didn't do your push-ups. You didn't even take a shower.
So why does that matter?
Well, if you have bad breath, that's going to turn somebody off. It's called, I believe in the law of personal attraction. The more attractive I can make Jim Shorkey, the odds of me selling something go up. But The converse of that is the less attractive I am, the odds of me selling something go down. I'm a mathematical guy. I believe in math. I was talking to a good friend the other day, and we were getting ready to have a meeting. He said, how long is this going to take? I said, probably about 45 minutes to an hour. He says, great. He said, that way I get to have dinner with my wife. I said, oh, that's a wonderful thing. I said, do you know that's a mathematical situation? And he never really did comment back, but spending time with your wife is a mathematical situation. And you might question me, what do you mean math? We're talking about love. How could that be math? I always talk about probability. So my wife, Amy, your wife, Laura, okay, as we sit here today and we talk about goals, do you want to have a good relationship with your wife?
100% without question, absolutely.
Do you want to have a better relationship with your wife than where it is right now?
I was just talking to Luke in the car about this, Can
you move in an inch?
There are always ways I want to improve. Yes.
Can you move in an inch?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we focus on spending more quality time with our significant other or our friend, whoever it is we want to have a relationship with, if we focus on spending more quality time with that person, does it now become a mathematical situation? The chances of us having a good relationship go up versus the chances, like for example, I see this in restaurants all the time. You'll see two people, doesn't matter gender. They're out, they're having a meal, and the one person's on the cell phone. Was that going to make the relationship better or worse? See, we're talking math here. It's going to make it worse, I guarantee it. I just talked to my sister on the phone before this all started. You saw it. You witnessed it. I saw her calling, and I'm always concerned when my sister calls us like, okay, what's going on here? Turns out it was just an innocent phone call. We had our conversation, but then I told her, I said, I got to get off because I'm starting the podcast. But that's what I'm saying. The phone calls that you get when you're in a restaurant with somebody you really care about, in my opinion, take it for whatever you want to take it. In my opinion, where should your cell phone be when you're in the restaurant with somebody that's really important to you? Where should it be?
In the car.
In the car. Leave it in the car. There's probably not anything that's that urgent that you have to have it in your hand at all times. And I heard this from somebody one time. I think it was like a podcast type thing I was watching. They said, when you walk into a relationship and you have your cell phone in your hand, what you're saying to that person is, I don't care about you. Now, I don't know if that's 100% valid, but I think there's an element of truth to that. If I walk in here, like we're talking right now, and I'm trying to pay attention to that little white square there, which is my client, we're trying to rethink sales, but I'm doing this.
In the sales conversation, you had a couple good points. You talked about the value of creating team culture, which could be absolutely its own video in and of itself.
No question.
And then you also talked about the importance of being really present in the sales conversation. No question.
But at the end of the day, failing to plan is planning. Finish it for me.
Planning to fail.
Does it sound like I have a plan?
Yes. All right. So go one layer deeper. Now somebody's in the dealership. You're sitting down. You're having a conversation. So you did all that prep. Now what is the psychology of selling?
I have a process. I'm going to have a very preordained, pre-thought out. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I don't know that you want me to go into that right now.
Yeah, probably not in detail, but I think if you hit it at a high level.
Okay, I'll just go through. I'll go through a couple steps. Number one, most important thing is to have a proper greeting. And I don't mean every one of these is most important, so I'm going to say that every time. The most important thing in this moment is to have a really good greeting. Hi, my name's Jim Shorkey. Thank you so much for stopping in today. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Would it be okay if I asked you your name?
Derek Kelly.
Derek Kelly. Derek, I got to tell you, I'm really challenged. Thanks for that. I'm challenged with remembering names. I am. So permission to write down your name.
Absolutely.
And here's my business card. That way.
Oh, thanks.
Jim
Shorkey. Nice to meet you.
You got it. Okay. So is it D-E-R?
Yeah, E-K.
E-K and then K?
K-E-L-L-Y.
Because it could be K-E-L-L-E-Y, right? So I got it written down. And then my next step, and I'm going to close off here. So the most important step is a proper greeting. And now the most important step is writing it down. And now the most important step. In other words, the next step is always the most important step. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That sounds wordy, but it's true. Right. They're all important is the point. So I'm gonna make it very simple. I'm going to say, Derek, and you've heard me do this before, so I'll be brief. Derek, we have roughly 1,000 cars on the property right now. And I know you don't want to look at them all. That would take forever. So would it be okay if I asked you a few questions that I've thought out to help me narrow it down to just an idea of what we should be looking at today? Does that make sense? Beyond the obvious, let me rephrase that. So you're shopping for a car.
Yep.
You've owned cars before.
I have.
So the idea of owning a car, buying a car, shopping for a car, the whole car relationship, does that make sense? Your whole relationship with the car from cradle to grave, so to speak, okay? What's most important to you?
Number one is safety. I have 3 kids, so safety is huge. I would say
Safety, okay. Would it be okay if I wrote this down? I want to capture your...
Yeah.
Okay. So safety is most important to you.
number 2, I think for me is, so there's like the safety aspects of like crash testing and all of that, but there's also the safety aspect of a backup camera, some of those other more features that aren't like crash test safety, get in an accident, but more like assistability features.
Let me clarify. Okay, so safety is obviously you're in an accident. But it sounds like what you're saying for the second, there's 2 safeties. Safety, you're in an accident.
Right.
Now what happens?
Yep.
The second one is safety, you're avoiding an accident.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so can I capture that right here? What's next most important to you?
Safety again, but I'd say from a different angle of features like all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, those pieces that allow me to go on some rougher terrain and make sure that we're safe.
Would you say, just asking questions, would you say all-wheel drive is an essential?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'll put a star next to that. Okay, and what is next most important to you?
I would say after that, drivability, right? The ability to make tight turns, comfortable ride, smooth driving, those types of pieces.
So drivability, tight turns, just the way the vehicle handles, basically. Handling. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and I would keep going until Derek stops me. So I may end up with 10 things, may end up with 20 things. And the neat thing about this process, and we're done talking about the process, but you can see I have a plan, and it's well rehearsed. I know the plan. I know exactly what I'm going to ask him before he even comes to the dealership. And if I'm having a challenging time with my process, again, preparation, preempt, it'll be written out.
Takes you out of your process.
Oh, they won't. They won't.
Jim's like, nope.
They won't. You know how to do that. And I just don't have time. We don't have time for me to get into that. I have a plan. I have a plan for every single option that occurs. And it may be that they try to get me out of my process, and I'll have a way to handle that and get back to the process. But the bottom line is, write out your process, or your team will have a copy of the process. And before you hit the customer opportunity, just review your process real quick. Put it in your pocket. And maybe there's a break where, for example, in our case, we had to go get keys for a car. So you go get the keys for the car and just look at your list. I have a list right now that I'm working on. It's a new list, and I'll show it to you later. I'll get my journal, and I have a list. I have a new list. You know how much lists mean to me.
Yes.
My to-do list and my to-not-do list. And so I'm working on something right now. It's the journey of Jim Shorkey, the guy sitting here right now, is lifelong learning. Continuous and never-ending improvement is part of that lifelong learning. Yes. And so I came across a book that I'm really intrigued with about energy and strategies to improve my energy. Imagine that, me having more energy. But I got these ideas that I'm now incorporating into my life. And it's very interesting. And I'll give you one. So I drink as a habit. We already talked about this, so I'm repeating myself. But you guys, we weren't on camera at the time. I drink 2 cups of coffee, very special coffee, every single day. And so the advice I'm getting is to switch out one of those cups of coffee with a cup of green tea. Now, I do matcha green tea, which is like the best of the best. So I have my coffee there, already finished it. And when we take a break, I'm going to go down there and get me some green tea. I already have it. What? You hear the plan? I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. Somebody asked me the other day, he said, would you mind going over your morning routine with me? I said, you got about an hour? I have a routine. I don't approach life randomly. I don't. So if I don't have a plan, as Derek said earlier, when you don't plan, you're planning to fail. You always have a plan.
Right.
Your plan is that you don't have a plan and you're going to fail. Another idea about which I wasn't really good at, quite frankly. When you go to work, if you're on time, finish it. If you're on time, Luke, finish it. If you're on time,
You're late.
you're late. Thank you. Luke, I'm disappointed in you, man. You didn't even respond. If you're on time, you're late. And so I was terrible at that. I was running red lights and going through stop signs to get there at 30 seconds before. And if I hit a pothole, I'm late. I wasn't good at that. I admit it. I was not. I drove my dad crazy. I was always like running through the door, throwing stuff down. I wasn't good at it. But I know I'm wrong. And so that's part of life's journey, is admitting that you're wrong. But seriously, me mentoring you right now, if you're on time, you're late. Try to be there at 10 of, so that when you do get into a traffic jam, when there is an accident, you got a little bit of wiggle room to still be there on time. And so that's part of the plan, is to show up and ready to go. And that's why, again, back to the cold shower, the push-ups. I don't do push-ups for an hour. I'm talking about maybe at the best a 5-minute little routine. And by the way, on top of that, the cold shower, that is working out. I'm telling you, you're moving. And so when you get to your business, you're freaking ready to rock and roll. Put some pump-up music on in the car. I like to listen to self-help, but I also might play some rocky music, whatever the case may be. Be ready to go. Why do they have pep rallies? Why do they have locker room meetings before the football game? Why don't we do that in our civilization of career? Get jacked up so that when you arrive amongst your teammates and your clients, wow, this guy's really cool. And that's the law of personal attraction, which we really do subscribe to here. What can I do to make myself the most attractive version of Jim Shorkey? And believe me, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. I guarantee it, because you're going to want me. You're going to want to hear more. I'm going to get you.
Jim, thank you for talking about the psychology and the thought process and the planning and the culture. And I feel like you dove so deep. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, guys. Please comment, subscribe. I know we get a lot of comments, a lot of feedback, both on Facebook and on